Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about something that's been bothering me for a little while now. I live in a community that's near a pretty old Air Force base. If we want to go back in history to where it was actually built the first time, it is 97 years old. Yeah, that's pretty old. But the community that it's in is pretty much tearing it all down. But what are they going to do with all the land? Farming. They're gonna turn it into a bunch of farmland. We have this 97 years of history right there. And they want to tear it down. Now, start with a little background information. This Air Force base was built in May of 1917. And it was used to train pilots for the Air Force. And after World War I, it kind of fell apart because the base was rapidly built and it was all made of wood. So fires were a problem. It was just deteriorating real fast. So throughout the 30s and right before Pearl Harbor, they decided to pretty much rebuild the base with modern technology like steel buildings. Not gonna catch on fire as easy. But after that, then World War II started. People flocked to this base to get trained, and they actually ran out of room. But as the United States government, they have no money. So in 1993, it was closed. Part of it was because the government couldn't afford to run it anymore. Another part is the residents of the community that is near it were complaining about planes flying all the time. But no problem. It's closed. That's not really a big issue. You could still use the buildings, and that's exactly what they did. They brought in a bunch of businesses, and they used these buildings for a while, but not all of them were used, and most of them were left and not cared for. So, if you don't care for things, what do? They fall apart. And I drove around this base a few weeks ago with a friend, and it's just awful. Here we have such rich of history. Like, you wouldn't believe it. All this history in this community's backyard. And all they want to think about is tearing it down. Because it's an eyesore. So why don't you take this eyesore, fix it up, and make it available to the public? I know people like me, I would definitely pay money to go through those buildings. Like, these buildings are from World War II, so they're about 70 years old, maybe even more. And some of those buildings may even be older. But let's just tear it down. And this is what really gets me. This base is home of one of the largest military buildings that was ever built. Up until the Pentagon was built, it was the largest military building in the United States. And that was one of the first buildings on the chopping block. Another building, there was a steam plant for heating the entire Air Force Base. And that's unfortunately getting torn down this year. I It's just sad to see this stuff happen. But, what can you do? I bet if the community that is in charge of this Air Force base, if they took care of it and opened it up to the public, they could have made a whole bunch of money. But all they get is a little museum that's on base that captures the history of the base, yes, but you're not getting to see the inside of all these buildings, how life used to be for these trainees, and how life used to be for the commanders. Instead now, all of the housing on the base is where all the poorer people go, or poverty class go, and it's pretty much gangland. At night, I would definitely not want to be out there after dark. It's not safe at all. Like, there's old buildings where soldiers used to live, or people in training used to live. Those are the kind of buildings I want to see. They haven't been occupied forever though, and they're probably not even safe to go in now. The old command center. Yeah, now that's just a bunch of houses. Like, I'm guessing little apartments. If you guys could have kept that up, then to see a command center of an Air Force base, what it looked like when it was in operation, that would be amazing. But what can you do? The old hospital, the old fire station, a bunch of these old hangars, all closed up, boarded up, mostly because the windows have been broken out. But all these buildings just sitting there, decaying, because no one wants to take care of them. Like a hospital, a military hospital. That would be pretty cool to go see. I mean, a fire station back from the 40s, late 30s, early 40s. That's the kind of stuff that's fun to see. This town already doesn't have much to do in it anyways. You got your bunch of restaurants. They got a bowling alley. They have a Walmart, if that counts. And that's about it. And of course the museum, but I've been in that museum. It's been a while since I've been in there, but that museum, it's in poor condition itself. The carpets are all musty. There's probably mold underneath them. There's water spots on the ceiling. And they just don't care. Now we're going to take a look at a few pictures. This one right here is what this Air Force base used to look like. And some of these buildings are still here today. Like the two hangars in the center right there is, well, was the largest building before the Pentagon. It's pretty big. Well, it doesn't seem too big now, but back then that was a pretty big building. And if we take a close-up right now, this is what that building looks like. It just looks awful. It just hasn't been cleaned and just left to rot. And if that picture didn't get you, look at this one. This is one of the classrooms inside that building. Just take a moment let it soak in. This building could have been used as a museum. It could have been used as, really, you can do anything with it. It's huge. But instead, it's left to rot and look like this. So, on that note, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. It was used to train pilots for the Air Force. And after World War I, it kind of fell apart because the base was rapidly built and it was all made of wood. It is 97 years old. Yeah, that's pretty old. But the community that it's in is pretty much tearing it all down. But what are they gonna do with all the land? Farming. They're gonna. Hello, everyone. Today I'm gonna be talking about something that's been bothering me for a little while now. I live in a community that's near a pretty old Air Force base. If we want to go to back in history to where it was actually built the first time, and turn it into a bunch of farmland. We have this 97 years of history right there, and they want to tear it down. Now, start with a little background information. This Air Force base was built in May of 1917, and so fires were a problem. It was just deteriorating real fast. So, throughout the 30s and right before Pearl Harbor, they decided to pretty much rebuild the base with modern technology like steel buildings. Not gonna catch on fire.